Well, we know how the Warriors got here, and obviously they have actually lost a game one before in 2016. A big reason for that is Steph Curry, guys, and he has a lot of great accomplishments sitting on his resume, but one of those is not an NBA Finals MVP. Here's what he thinks the award has on his legacy.
It doesn't make or break my career or whatever you want to say looking back. If we win this championship and I don't win in Finals MVP, I'm going to be smiling just as wide, and just as big.
Which makes sense. I mean, I would be smiling too and shimmying every time I touch the ball if I was Steph Curry. Do you think that him never having won an NBA Finals MVP really does have an effect on his legacy?
I'm going to say no.
Okay.
No, I don't think it does, because his legacy is different from LeBron's legacy. Steph's legacy, I think, is relatively safe. Steph, based upon, and by safe I mean secure, which is to say, Steph Curry has revolutionized the game. He will be remembered, I believe, as the greatest shooter of all time. He is already that. He will go down as one of the great all-time little men, and I suppose he could try and make a stab at being the greatest all-time little man, supplanting, in my view, Isaiah Thomas. Others might argue for Allen Iverson or some others. But he isn't going to be in the conversation for greatest player of all time. So when you start adding up Finals MVPs, that's for Jordan versus LeBron and Magic and Kareem and the people who are in that discussion. It is my opinion that Steph isn't going to be in that discussion. So I think his legacy is relatively secure, and I don't think whether he is the Finals MVP or not makes that much difference.
Couple things. I really have a problem with you defining us as little men, but I get it.
Within the scope of the game,
I like
yes,
that you own it.
In the big scheme of things, yes, he is. I would agree with you wholeheartedly. It's like people are always trying to scuff the armor. We're always trying to find out what's one thing that you haven't done so we can make you feel bad. He will go down as the all-time greatest shooter that we've ever seen in the game. And if he wins championships, which he's doing with KD, Draymond, and Clay, that's enough. His legacy will be fine.
Yeah, a couple of NBA MVPs, and you add in some championships. So he's going to be on a short list of people that have actually been able to do that with Jordan and Kareem, and he doesn't have to be the best player ever to be a great NBA baller. So much has also been made of all the matchups. We talk about Steph Curry. I mean, we're going to talk about KD, LeBron, Draymond, but what about coaching, guys? Ty Lue versus Steve Kerr. With the Cavs being such a huge underdog, let's talk about what we need to see from Ty Lue, J. Will, and what do you have to see from him coaching in these finals to maybe even prove that he is one of those great head coaches?
Well, to be a great head coach, you have to come up with great schemes, and you have to develop a great scheme if you're going to beat a great team. That just rhymed. I didn't mean for that to happen. But, when you think about it, what are you going to do? Are you going to go small? Are you going to be interchangeable with those pieces? Are you going to use Tristan Thompson? Or are you going to use the likes of a guy like Larry Nance Jr. that could be an X factor in this ball game because of his versatility, the way he can defend guys off the PNR? I think the way he plays with these different pieces and he changes up the tempo of the ball game, sometimes I think you need to make it a half-court grind you out style of play. Other times I think you need to be small and play fast, but you can't allow them to beat you off the three-point line. You have to force them to drive and attack, and you need somebody in there who has a presence down low on the block, who also has versatility, and I think that could be Larry Nance.
He's had a very good playoffs. I mean, it's very hard to argue with what Ty Lue has done, considering that they had to remake their team in its entirety, basically, at the midway point of the season, and then to get them to the final, whatever you may think of the conference, I think is quite an accomplishment. And he seems to have had the right touch for going big, going small. They had some success with Kevin Love playing the five. Then all of a sudden, we got to go back to a little bit of Tristan Thompson and play big. He seems to have pushed the right buttons relative to that as this postseason has gone along.
I thought it was interesting, too, against the Celtics. He put out a starting five that had played like 24 minutes or something together the entire season, and he's having to do this with pieces that are not familiar with one another, but he's a coach that's kind of making it look slightly more seamless than you might think it would.
And I love the fact that him and LeBron have such a special relationship, and he recognizes that. And he also knows that LeBron is going to coach his team as well, so there's a delicate balance between how much authority do I have to put my foot down and how much do I give leniency towards LeBron to do his own thing as well. That's difficult.
It's a blessing and a curse at the same time, I think, to be coaching a player like LeBron, because you're never going to get any credit. No one is ever, if they win this thing, and I've already said it this morning, if they win this thing, it is one of the greatest, for LeBron James, one of the greatest achievements of all time, with basically giving no credit already to anybody else, including the coach, who I think will. You almost have to argue he'd be the second most important person. We understand that LeBron is the first most important person, but then figuring out some way to put this group together in a manner to give Golden State a fight. Ty Lue maybe becomes the second most important person.
How come that never happened
Cleveland.
with Phil Jackson? Michael has the same kind of personality, the same attention to detail, the ability to see plays through. How come that really never happened to Phil?
What never happened to him?
Well, the fact that he wasn't looked at as secondary to Michael.
I think that some people did. In the Chicago days, certainly, I can speak to that. I think there was a school of thought that Phil just sort of rolled the balls out there, that he always showed up right at the tailor-made time. He never took over a bad team and made them good.
Yeah.
He walked in right when they were ready to win and did the same thing in L.A.
And LeBron has always been a part of even the front office talks. It seems like he has a hand in absolutely everything. And it seemed like Jordan, maybe when you get to the court, but LeBron has a hand in everything that happens.
Jordan actually tried to. Michael Jordan wanted to basically be the GM.
Yep.
He wanted to bring in every player that ever came out of North Carolina, and Jerry Krause wouldn't let that happen, and it turned out well. And look, some of the personnel decisions LeBron has cornered the Cavs into making haven't always worked out so well. So
one of the most underrated names in all of sports, Jerry Krause.
Absolutely. It is a real shame that he did not live to see him.
I agree.
He went into the Hall of Fame right after he died, unfortunately.